Today I'm going to show you how to make the magic when the puck drops on next season. And it all hinges on what you do today. And I'm going to show you exactly what to do.
Matthews again, saves his 13th.
As the penalty expires, Andrew Kopp had a yawning.
What a look at that. Wow, that's spectacular.
Maria here from GoalieTrainingPro.com. Let's get to work. What I have for you today is an off-season strength workout. Before you do this workout, I want you to make sure you do a dynamic warm-up. I've made videos about it if you're like, what is this dynamic warm-up of which you speak? So check that out, do your dynamic warm-up, and then let's get to work. The first exercise is a lunge lateral to a pause. So the tempo here is 3, 3, 1, 1. So we're going to lower down for a count of 3. We're going to pause at the bottom for a count of 3. We're going to pop back up to a count of 1. We're going to balance at the top for a count of 1. So it'll look like this. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3, push up for a count of 1, balance for a count of 1. Then 1, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, push back up for a count of 1, balance at the top for a count of 1. I am holding one dumbbell in a goblet position. That works. You can hold a weight plate. You could hold a dumbbell in each hand at your shoulder. You could hold a dumbbell in each hand sort of coming to the inside, or one on the inside, one on the outside. Whatever suits you the best. It doesn't really make a big difference. Key points here, when we step out, make sure your shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle are stacked. If you're here, it's too wide. We're not trying to do a stretch, we're trying to do a strengthening exercise. But I do want this knee straight so that you are getting some lengthening through that adductor. Make sure you're keeping a nice neutral back. So don't sort of reach down with your torso as you go. You will have to come forward a little bit as you sit back in your hips to stay balanced, but we're not going to fold forward and you're not going to round your low back as you do that. You're going to do 6 on each side. In this early off-season phase, 3, 3, 1, 1 is a good tempo. If we used it at a different point in the off-season, we would probably be changing that tempo to make it a little more explosive. You're going to look at this next exercise and think like, that is not very goalie specific at all. And you're right to some extent, but what we're trying to do is lay a foundation. Remember, it's fairly early in the off-season, so we're trying to just work our big patterns. We're going to work, in this case, it's a pulling pattern, so we're working our biceps, our mid-back. We're working on trying to get that little squeeze between our shoulder blades. But I'm going to put you in a bent-over position to do it. So while we're doing it, and the tempo is relatively slow, those muscles in our back, primarily our big back extensors, have to work to hold us in that position. And so when we do this, somebody will be like, my back was kind of, they'll say sore, you know, at the end of that. Is that right? Well, yes and no. Yes, it's okay if those muscles are getting fatigued and starting to burn a little bit by the end of the set, and then you get up and you walk around and it's fine again. No, if you're actually experiencing back pain. You should not be experiencing back pain when you bend forward, so in that case, you should definitely get it checked out by your friendly neighborhood physiotherapist. So this exercise kind of has 2 benefits for us. It's building some stamina in those back extensors. We all feel our back extensors getting fatigued even just when we're in a ready stance. Plus we're working on our pull pattern. I'm going to hinge at my hips, keeping my back nice and neutral. Again, I don't want to be bent over and loaded in my spine. So I want to keep a nice neutral back position. I'm going to row up, keeping my shoulders down and back. I'll hold for 1, 2, 3 at the top, a count of 2 down. I'll come up for a count of 1, hold 1, 2, 3, down for a count of 2. Notice that my neck stays in neutral. I'm not, looking like this straight ahead and hyperextending at my neck. So keep that nice neutral neck position. You will do 8 to 12 repetitions just like that. So you're going to get the sense in this first superset that we're combining things. We're trying to get lots of bang for our buck in this early off-season workout. In the row, we were also working our back extensors. When we did the lunge lateral, we were also working balance. We're going to do a big push now in the form of a push-up, but we're going to add a core stabilization element to it by lifting one extremity at a time as we go all the way around the world. Not literally all the way around the world. When you set up for this version of your push-up, make your hands a little narrower and your feet a little bit wider. You're going to do a push-up and then stabilize. So I don't want you to sort of rotate your body. Stabilize, lift, hold for a count of 2, come down, push up. Now I'm going to lift one leg for a count of 2. Push up, lift the other leg for a count of 2. One more push up, and lift the arm for a count of 2. So now you've gone around the world once, this direction. Then you're going to go around the world once in the other direction. And if if you're just not very good at push-ups, some of us have a little trouble with our push-ups. You can do it from your knees. It's a little bit more tricky, but you definitely can do it. Still, think about keeping your knees a little bit wider to give you that base of support when you lift your arms. So we're getting a nice compound push, working the big muscles of our chest, our triceps, the front of our shoulder. We're getting to work on shoulder stabilization when we have one arm off the ground. We're working a bit on hip stabilization when we have one leg off the ground. And we're definitely working core stabilization really through that full exercise. I'm not sure if you noticed, but that first group of exercises was a tri-set, which is a type of superset. So we had A, which was the lunge lateral. We had A1, which was the bent over row. And we had A2, which was the push-up around the world. So we would work our way through. You should do 2 to 3 sets of those. So A, A1, A2, A, A1, A2, and then you would move on to the B superset. You probably also noticed, wow, we're really getting all those big bang exercises out of the way in the first superset. So we had a big knee dominant leg exercise, a big push, a big pull. We've got those finished, and then we're going to move on to what you'll look at and see as more goalie specific. But goalies need to be strong too, so don't discount those first 3 exercises because, oh, that doesn't look like what I need to do on the ice. Now, if you have any questions about the tempos, I gave you the tempo for each exercise, but if you have any questions about tempos or supersets or how we make all that work, then just drop it in the comments below and I'll help you out. So I have like a medium light resistance band attached to my power rack. I just have the ankle cuff that I've adjusted so that it'll fit over my shoe like that. And then I have this little glider disc. You don't need a glider disc. You could, if I didn't have one, I could, I could really skim my foot along the turf. I could put my foot in a plastic bag to get some slide. If I had a smooth floor at home, I could just do it in my sock feet and slide my foot on the floor. So, you don't need something special. I have that attached to my outside leg. With my balancing leg, I'm making a point of staying nice and tall in that leg. So I'm not sitting back in my hips. I'm nice and tall, I'm nice and stable. And then I'm pushing out to the side and coming back. Now, this exercise is called a half groin crease push. And so I'm trying to work on the muscles I use to push across. And what comes along with that is I have to stabilize with an equal and opposite force. Otherwise, when I push this way, I would sort of buckle that way. What it is not a groin exercise. So I'm not trying to move my groin with me as I go. I'm trying to stay nice and stable. So my tempo is 2, 1, 2, 1. So I'll go, in this case, starting with the concentric. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. And I'll do 8 to 12 on each side. So that's working the pushing muscles and the stabilizing muscles that you need on the ice to really express that force. You might notice too, I'm kneeling on an RX pad is what it's called, but you could easily just use your goalie knee pads, a cushion, anything just to cushion your knees so that it's way more comfortable. Speaking of equal and opposite, so we did the half kneeling crease push, the half groin crease push. So we're going to do the half groin reverse crease push because I'm not very creative at thinking up names. So I try to make them just as descriptive as can be. So I'm starting in the opposite position. Now that resistance band is attached to my outside leg, I'm drawing it up and in using my adductors and my hip rotators, but the tempo is the same. 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, pause. This time, now my adductors have to do more work, both initiating the movement and stabilizing, but I'm still staying nice and tall and stable in my torso. Even if I feel my abdominal muscles, when we talk about goalie-specific core exercises, I feel those tightening without me even thinking of it, working to keep my stability. Again, you're going to do 8 to 12 repetitions on each side with a 2-1-2-1 tempo at this stage of the off season. Then we'll go right into a little just straight up core stabilization, working predominantly the obliques. But again, I want to get more bang for my buck, so we're also going to work on our hip abductors, which actually will make our torso have to work a little harder as well. I'm going to come into a side plank from my knee, not because I think you can't do a side plank from your foot, but I really think this lets you keep these abdominal obliques under tension for a longer time to build more stamina without just crushing your shoulder so that it's doing the most work. So we're here nice and tall in our hips, but not, sort of hyper flex laterally. This top leg is straight, my toe is pointed down slightly, and it stays in line with my torso or slightly behind. And then I just lift, pause for 2 and down. 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to do 8 to 12 on each side. You're going to love the last one in this superset because you get to wear goalie gear, some goalie gear. So you're going to wear your blocker and your glove for this drill. And it's really important that you do wear your blocker and your glove, because the way you use your muscles, if you do stick handling or puck handling with just your bare hands, is completely different than what you need to do when you're on the ice. So we're just going to do some single hand puck handling. And I'm terrible. I stay in my net unless nobody's even out of the zone, like the other zone, and the puck comes within like 3 feet of the net and it's just kind of dribbling along the ice. I don't ever come out of my net to play the puck, but probably if I did more of this, I would. So just a little single hand puck handling with your blocker hand, but then, it depends what grip you use with your other hand. So when you play the puck, whatever your grip is, you're going to take that grip with just your glove. So it's tricky. I'll probably drop the stick at some point. But I'm going to get low too. And I don't want to get low like this. I want to get low the way I would need to be on the ice. Sorry, I know this is painful. It hurts me more than it hurts you, if you can believe it. But that's what you're going to work on, and you'll be surprised at how much better it does feel. So you're going to do a minute with your blocker hand, a minute with your glove hand. But if you haven't done this before, you will find that your forearms start to burn. They get super, super fatigued. So split up that minute into 20-second bursts. So I could go 20 seconds with my blocker hand, 20 seconds with my glove hand, 20 seconds, back and forth until I've accumulated a minute. If your forearms are really burning, don't keep forcing it, because 2 things. Your coordination is going to go, and so your quality of your stick handling is going to be even worse than normal. But also you could give yourself a tendonitis, so you could irritate the tendons of your forearm if they're not used to doing that much work. So go just to the onset of fatigue, not so you can't stand it anymore. And then switch hands and accumulate 60 seconds on each side. Again, my apologies for traumatizing you with my terrible puck handling. I would say I'll never do it again, but I probably will. And before you ask, I know someone's going to say, well, I don't have one of those little green things. Either what is it, or I can't do that exercise. So this is called the Green Biscuit, and it's the weight of a puck, and it does slide pretty nice on a smooth surface. So it's a nice little tool to have. If you don't have this, that's fine. You can get one of those little puck handling balls. You know, if you're really stuck, you can use a tennis ball. Heck, you could even try using an actual puck. And it's going to stick a little bit. It's not going to be super great, but, you know, there's always a way that you can work on your puck handling. That was another superset for you. So it was B, B1, B2, B3. It was a huge superset. And I'd like you to go through that at least 2 times. You could do it 3 times. So there is a really basic off-season strength workout, full body workout, a couple of supersets, getting your big bang moves, plus some goalie specific work. You can do that easily 3 times a week. Not back-to-back days, but like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and see really nice results on the ice. After 4 weeks or so, your body's going to adapt. It's going to become accustomed to those demands, and then it's time to change up your training. You know, that's why we train, and that's why we have periodization schemes, so that we're changing the stimulus to get different types of adaptations. I've set this up for the time of year that it is as I'm making this video, which is sort of the early off-season phase, and the tempos, the reps, the sets, the exercise selection is all geared toward that. So the goalies I train, we would change this, and this is a lot more basic. I wanted to make it time efficient and really straightforward, but we always change up our workouts about every 4 weeks. And if you want to see how I do that through the off season, you can check out this video I put together walking you through all the phases of an off-season program. One of the things you'll also find in that video is how, if you want to maximize your success on the ice, it isn't just about building goalie-specific strength. You also need, obviously, mobility, but you need goalie-specific speed, goalie-specific stamina, so that you can use all these tools on the ice. If you're like, yeah, I'm not really sure exactly how to do that, or if you really have some great opportunities as a goalie and don't have time to waste with sort of trying to cobble it together yourself, I've been doing this for like more than 25 years, so I kind of know what works. But if that's you and you're like, yeah, I just need the blueprint, tell me exactly what to do, help me along the way, you know, if I have questions, can I come to you and help? Yes, you can. Click in the link in the description to learn a little more about my training groups and see if we can work together. If this is really your first stab at any type of goalie-specific off-ice training, it's a great place to start. Challenge yourself to do this 2 to 3 times a week for the next month. Again, you will see results on the ice. As basic as it is, you'll see results on the ice. Your body will feel better. And then you can see what the next step is. And now is the time when I beg you for a like, because I live on likes. And I remind you to subscribe, because some people need a lot of reminding to subscribe. And I also tell you that if you have any questions, I love answering your questions. So just drop them in the comments below and I'll get to you. And I will see you next week when I'm going to give you an instant fix for those tight hip flexors, literally. And I'm going to tell you the one hip flexor stretch I absolutely want you to stop doing. See ya.